All right, everybody, what is going on? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well on this Tuesday. And today we're going to be talking about something that is obviously related to football, but not necessarily related to the Seattle Seahawks, but in its own way, I guess it kind of sort of is. It just depends on your perspective. We're going to talk a little bit about one of the former great Seattle Seahawks, one of our all-time great players, Bobby Wagner, and we're going to wonder what's going on with him and whether or not we've seen the last of him. I've made a couple videos about Russell Wilson this offseason because there was some stuff going on with him where it was, I think, worthy of discussion. And now I think this has gotten to the point where it is worthy of discussion via Bobby Wagner. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about Bobby Wagner. This is a player that I don't think I've made a video about in quite some time because there really hasn't been much to say from my perspective. He was on the team a couple of years ago, and then he left, and he continued to grind out respectable, I mean, on some level, respectable play elsewhere, but nothing really to do with us, right? Because the Bobby Wagner thing, I don't think there were any hard feelings. We didn't have any draft capital tied up in whether or not Bobby Wagner was successful or not. It wasn't like the Russell Wilson thing. And he had already left us for a year previously when he went to the Rams in 2022. So it's not as if we were strangers to Wagner leaving Seattle. But we're in a little bit of an interesting spot here with Bobby Wagner. And I want to take a video to talk about it before we get started with training camp because once the Seahawks take the field at the VMAC and start giving us stuff to really talk about, this kind of stuff, I don't know how interested anybody is going to be in it. All right, so we are just a few days away from the start of training camp, not just for the Seahawks, but other teams as well. And we're just a little more than 2 weeks away from the start of the preseason. And we're also just not even not even we're just about 6 weeks away from the start of the regular season, a little bit more, I think, actually. And Bobby Wagner is not on an NFL team as of me recording this video. Not only that, I have not heard anything this offseason, and I am somebody that generally keeps my ear pretty close to the ground. I haven't heard anything about Bobby Wagner meeting with a team or a team thinking about signing him or anything to indicate that Bobby Wagner is anywhere close to being on a new team in 2026. And yet, it is kind of interesting that we have not heard anything from him. Not, at least I haven't heard anything about Bobby Wagner retiring or even contemplating retirement the way we did with Russell Wilson. When Russell Wilson didn't get any attention from NFL teams outside of kind of a Hail Mary call from the Jets who wanted him to be a backup, we heard that he was thinking about retirement, and then he announced that he retired. Haven't heard anything about that with Bobby, so it seems like he still wants to play. And yet, who's going to be allowing that? Who's going to be signing him? Now, let me just establish this right now. I'm not making this video to say the Seahawks should sign him. I think that's about the last thing we should do. I don't think we have any business signing Bobby Wagner. But I do think that as he is one of the all-time great Seahawks legends, it is interesting to ask, who will? Or, if you prefer, will anybody? All right, guys, let's take a quick break here to talk a little bit about Prize Picks, currently the #1 sports pick app in America. The app is very easy to use. Check it out to my left here. You can do player picks, where you just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Or you can pick teams, where you pick winners, spread, or total on any game or fight. The app is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. Right now, they have a great offer. You can play your first $5 lineup and get $150 in lineups if you win. All you have to do is use code HMA when you sign up. It's a brand new offer. Best time possible to get on the app. So get on over there and get to winning that first lineup. So remember, Prize Picks, code HMA. Download the app today and remember to always gamble responsibly. So, Bobby Wagner, let's take a look at this. Now, we know what he did for the Seahawks. I think we all understand that he is an all-time great Seattle Seahawk, did amazing things with this team, and is one of our all-time greats. He will be a Hall of Famer. He will have his jersey in the Ring of Honor, and he may even have his jersey number retired. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to get your jersey number retired, but he may have done enough to do that. He made the Pro Bowl over and over and over. He was an All-Pro over and over and over. He won a Super Bowl with us. So I could see it. Now, the last couple years where he's been with Washington, with the Commanders, with Dan Quinn, he has put up good numbers, right? He has put up some impressive stats. And this last year, 2025, yeah, you've got the tackles, almost 10 a game, 4.5 sacks, 2 picks, 6 passes defensed. You're like, okay, this guy, or excuse me, 4, like, okay. Like, you're looking at all that, and you might be wondering to yourself, okay, what am I missing? If you have watched Bobby Wagner play football over the last couple of years, you know what you're missing, right? He's not able to cover anybody. Not that his coverage stats are all that bad, but it's pretty easy to disguise a player in coverage as long as you have a coherent and clear defensive system that permits a player like a Bobby Wagner, who is not the most skilled cover player in the world, to not find himself in situations where he's exposed. So while the numbers don't look terrible, even this last year they're not good, but they're not the end of the world. I think we all understand just from watching him play that he doesn't move the way he used to move. He can't cover the way he used to cover. I remember as a rookie, he was covering Randall Cobb like 40 yards down the field. He can't do that anymore. But there is still a player of some value in here somewhere. And I think most Seahawks fans, or just NFL fans in general, I should say, have some understanding of that. I mean, you go to Pro Football Focus, and I personally am not a huge fan of Pro Football Focus as it pertains to linebacker play. I think they're a little bit spotty when it comes to linebacker stuff, but you can see that they still value him as a very good player by their metrics. Now, they do, as you can see, think he's very poor in coverage, but a lot of linebackers are poor in coverage, and a lot of them still play a lot. And there is still some stuff that he can offer as a veteran as well, beyond just what he's doing on the football field. So again, I want to stress there's no place for him in Seattle right now. When Mike McDonald came to the Seahawks a couple years ago, he could have retained Bobby Wagner pretty easily. He chose not to. I think it's fairly clear that Bobby Wagner is not the kind of player that he wants to be working with right now. He wants players that are a little bit more athletic, a little bit more upside. I don't know what Bobby Wagner would do here. We just had Ernest Jones make the All-Pro team. I'm not talking about that, but I am wondering, you're looking at a player who had 162 tackles last year, 2 picks, 4.5 sacks on a bad team. I understand that. Bad team, bad defense. But it does seem like there's still something that he can do in this league, and nobody's even sniffing. So maybe his reputation at this point, because of his lackluster coverage ability, is so bad that he just can't get anybody to even look at him right now. So it's very intriguing. I find it, this is a player with big time name recognition. Bobby Wagner is one of the most well-known players of his era. This is a guy who's made all pro teams almost his entire career. He's made the Pro Bowl almost every year of his prime. This is a guy who is a known quantity in the NFL. People think very highly of this guy over his career, and yet it seems like his career is just kind of going to end with a whimper. That's the best way I can put it. Like, his career feels like it's just going to end with a shrug. Like, people just look at him and go, yeah, we don't see anything that we really value here anymore, so moving on. And that is in its own way kind of sad, but at the same time, there's a couple things to keep in mind here. And one reason why I made this video is Bobby Wagner, 2,000 career tackles on the dot. When he ended his season last year, he had exactly 2,000 tackles. So if he retires there, that is, I mean, that's pretty cool, right? You don't often get to retire on such a big milestone, and for him to retire exactly on it, that would kind of stand out. At the same time, though, one thing to keep in mind, If Bobby Wagner comes back and plays like half the season, he's or starts half the games, virtually guaranteed to pass Ray Lewis for the most tackles all time. He only needs 60 to pass Ray Lewis, and I mean, even when he's not playing great football, even with how flawed he can be at this point in his career, you still put him on the field enough, he's going to give you 8, 9 tackles a game. So if somebody signs him and plays him, and I imagine anybody who signs him would play him, we are talking about an all-time NFL record, passing Ray Lewis, passing London Fletcher. So it is very interesting to me that there's been no smoke here. He's just kind of floating around out there in free agency, and there's doesn't seem to be a lot of movement. So what do you guys think? You guys think anything's going to happen here? You guys think his career's over? Doesn't sound like he wants his career to be over. So at this point, with training camp just about to start, hard for me to believe he's going to find a landing spot now. You would think you find the landing spot months ago if you're a player like Bobby Wagner, because now teams are going to get an opportunity to look at what they have in terms of young players. Seems to me it's more likely that those teams that maybe thought they had an issue at linebacker are going to be able to find a guy on their 90-man roster that they like a little bit more than they thought. Or maybe a team will end up finding they don't have anything they like and just sign Bobby because he's there. I mean, maybe the Commanders could still get him back. He certainly knows that defense, and he knows that team fairly well, too, after the last 2 years. All right. Just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I'm getting the sense that he's not going to sign, and maybe he signs mid-season, but this could be the last time I get a chance to talk about Wagner, and is probably my all-time favorite Seahawk. At least my favorite Seahawk of the LOB era. So if this is the way it ends, then that's little bit of a whimper more than a bang, but at the same time, most NFL careers end like that. We can't all be Peyton Manning. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Everyone have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys soon.